Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled The Divided Nation of Yisra'el, Part 1. How division is destroying our nation during its restoration. The podcast objectives are: restate how truth converts your beliefs into knowledge, reveal the true identity of Yisra'el, reveal how the enemy is dividing our nation, and reveal how many in this nation have become enemies. Welcome. Now, before we begin today's lesson, I would like to welcome all my beloved brothers and sisters in Yahushua Messiah who have been scattered to the four corners of the earth, who Yahuwah has joined to this ministry for such a time as this. I would also like to welcome anyone who is engaging our podcasts or videos for the first time. We trust you were led by the set apart spirit in finding us. And if you continue to be led, we hope you stay with us, for these are troubling times and an evil day is just ahead. To this end, if you are watching this video on YouTube and you have not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button below and you will be alerted whenever we post new videos. Also, if you have any questions at the conclusion of this video, you can ask them using the link in the podcast description below the video player. Last but not least, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up so YouTube can share it with believers like us. We have a bridge for converting our beliefs. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to day 425 of our exposition of lawlessness. Today is the second episode in our Word from a Watchman series, a series that is designed to expose many of the false doctrines that are dividing our nation. This speaks to why Yahuwah has led me to launch this series in the midst of our analyses of knowledge and wisdom. It is because you will never see through all the deception, errors, and lies destroying our nation if you are not operating in the spirit of wisdom and knowledge. Now, in the first episode in this series, we analyze the process in which our beliefs are converted into knowledge. To wit, truth purges our beliefs, which allows us to ascend from the foundation of faith to the level of knowledge. You can see this by following the image to the left, vis-a-vis, by walking in the fear of Elohim, you unlock the girdle of truth, which is why knowledge is the level within the pinnacle of holiness that follows the fear of Elohim. Now, this reality reveals why the majority in this nation are void of knowledge. To wit, they are not walking in the fear of Elohim. Ergo, they are not wearing the girdle of truth. And thus, the following is true. Because the majority within our nation are not walking in the fear of Elohim, they have no bridge for converting their beliefs into knowledge. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, this is precisely why our nation is being divided and destroyed. It's because the majority are persistently arguing over their personal preferential beliefs, which are inherently prejudiced, and none of them are obtaining knowledge because none of them are operating in truth. Quite the contrary, they are operating in lawlessness, explicitly the 16 degrees at its foundation. And for your reference, those are despair, distrust, self reliance, doubt, non compliance, non conformance, complacency, disobedience, dishonesty, unrighteousness, defilement, contempt, immorality, irreverence, blasphemy, and prejudice. Now, understanding how the division within our nation has resulted in spiritual genocide, you should better appreciate why Yahuwah led me to spend an entire year showing you how you can eliminate and reign over the 16 degrees at the foundation of lawlessness. Look here. While all the false Hebrews in this nation are promoting division and pursuing lawlessness like there is no tomorrow, and while they are arguing and debating their false beliefs, we, by the Ruach of Elohim, have ascended to the spiritual plane of knowledge for the simple but sure fact that we have eliminated every degree of lawlessness that would prevent us from operating in truth. And thus, we have a bridge for converting our beliefs into knowledge. And that, my friends, is the prime objective of my Word from a Watchman series. To wit, we will use the girdle of truth to purge our beliefs of all the errors and lies we inherited and of all the errors and lies we acquired. In doing so, we will not only come to see through all the false doctrines in our midst, but we will also expose all the false prophets and the lawless ones who are following them. Let's get started. We are Yisra'el. Now, first things first, you must appreciate that division is much worse than most realize because they are operating in ignorance. And thus, the majority have accepted division to the point where a national emergency has become our national reality. Along these lines, the scriptures portray the restoration of the nation of Israel as a glorious occasion. Not only this, but the literature used to portray this amazing turn of events is so powerful, poetic, and inspirational, it is very difficult to describe with words. And yet, when you look at the state of our people, it's hard to believe we are in a season of restoration. Let me tell you something. There is nothing powerful, poetic, or inspirational about division, death, and all the other offshoots of lawlessness that are destroying our nation. And this is why we know Yahuwah is only restoring a remnant of the seed of Jacob. Be reminded. For look, listen, it has been written, Yisra'el has not obtained what it seeks, but the chosen did obtain, and the rest were blinded. Look again, my friend, and listen. Listen, for they are not all Yisrael who are of Israel. Neither are they are all children, because they are the seed of Abraham. Those who are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Elohim, but the children of the promise are reckoned as the seed. Hallelujah. Now, what does this mean? Well, I'll tell you. The children of Elohim who are being restored in these last days are a spiritual seed. This is true even though many of us are physical descendants of Jacob. Remember, the restoration of the nation of Yisra'el is a spiritual event, which is why it cannot include transgressors. For look, listen, it has been written, and the Redeemer shall come to Zion and to those turning from transgressions in Jacob. And thus we conclude the transgressors within this nation are not being restored. Quite the contrary, they are dying, which is why the scriptures make a distinction between the physical seed of Jacob and the spiritual seed of Yahushua Messiah. For all who persistently transgress the commands of Elohim are the synagogue of Satan, and those who are led by the set apart spirit of Elohim are sons and daughters of Elohim. We, my friends, are Yisra'el. Hallelujah. They have no path to obtain what they seek. Now, we can better understand the downfall of the restoration movement by analyzing the 7 guidelines of every word of prophecy. If you recall, we introduced these 7 guidelines very early in our end time series. My dear friends, let me take you back to End Times 190, Navigating the Way of Escape, which was posted on June 16th, 2023. In that podcast, we analyzed the 7 guidelines for understanding every word of prophecy. And seeing as this current series is dedicated to the analysis of knowledge, I encourage you to listen to that podcast, for this is a very crucial matter. I am telling you, do whatever you must to find the time. And for your reference, these 7 guidelines are purpose, time, season, messenger, sequence, people, and place. Now, it should be clear that the variable of interest as it pertains to the restoration of the nation is the people. Trust me, there is nothing wrong with the purpose, time, seasons, messengers, sequence, or places related to restoration. The problem, my friends, is with the people, and we have discussed this matter before. To wit, the majority within this nation were only interested in hearing the message of restoration. To their great misfortune, they had no interest in guarding the message. Quite the contrary, they, like their forefathers, were being led by the Ruach of self and not the Ruach of Elohim. For that reason, all the transgressors in Jacob who refused to guard the message never received the full message. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, the majority in this nation only know a fraction of the restoration message, if they know anything at all. We know this because Yahushua Messiah is raising up those who follow his spiritual standard in spirit and in truth. And what do we know about transgressors and truth? Let me tell you something. Transgressors cannot handle the truth because they are not walking in the fear of Elohim. And what, my dear friends, do we know about those who are not walking in the fear of Elohim? Vis-a-vis, they are infected with the 16 deadliest degrees of lawlessness, all of which have one primary objective. Get this. The primary objective of the 16 deadliest degrees of lawlessness is to cause you to reject the truth by deceiving you into believing the truth you are rejecting is not true. And the primary reason why the transgressors in Yaakov are being deceived into rejecting the truth is because they are not being led by the set apart spirit of Elohim. For where there is no spirit, there can be no truth. And where there is no truth, men cannot be free. For look, listen, it has been written, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And thus we conclude the majority in this nation were never restored because they rejected the truth. And this is why they are persistently divided. And it is why they are yet under the curse of this captivity. Now, if you recall, we discussed this matter in End Times 496, Reigning Over Prejudice, Part 6, which was posted on June 30th, 2025. And we came to the following conclusion. A nation divided cannot defeat the enemy in spiritual warfare, which is why the majority within this nation are still under the curse of this captivity. This is how we know the division we are witnessing that is destroying our nation is not from Elohim. Quite the contrary, it is a work of the enemy. For, unlike many in this nation, Satan knows that division is the quickest path to victory in any form of warfare. Matthew 12:25 is revealing every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Now, that being said, the question we should chiefly entertain is this: how is the enemy dividing our nation in these last days? The answer is sure, vis-a-vis the same way he has divided our nation in times past, with false doctrine. Consider this, my friends, and be advised. The primary way the enemy is dividing our nation is by corrupting the belief systems of the majority within this nation with false doctrine. And they are embracing these false doctrines because they are not wearing the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, or the girdle of truth. And above all else, they have not taken the shield of faith. And thus, the enemy has created a reality where 10,000 men in this nation have 10,000 beliefs, and they are all filled with delusion and insanity. For although they seek restoration, they have no path to obtain what they seek. How we became enemies. Now, if you think this is a problem, let me tell you something. This is the biggest problem in our nation today. And as I said before, it is why the majority are still under the curse of this captivity. My dear friends, hear me carefully as I say, after all this time, many of these transgressors have been infected with every degree of lawlessness. That includes arrogance, wrath, hatred, hostility, discord, cruelty, and pride. Now, if you recall, these 7 degrees are situated at the top of the mountain of lawlessness, which makes them 7 of the most pervasive degrees of lawlessness. Here lies the inflection and the problem. Consider this. These 7 degrees are strengthened by division. They are intensely magnified. And this, my friends, is why many within our nation have gone beyond the point of division. Alas, many who were once family and friends have now become enemies. Look here. By magnifying the powers of deception and division, the enemy has turned the men and women within the dying nation of Israel against each other. My dear friends, just think about it. If you have 10 men who are divided by 10 different beliefs, who are filled with arrogance, wrath, hatred, hostility, discord, cruelty, and pride, what will be the outcome? Will these 10 men turn back their division and be unified? Of course not. And only a fool would think otherwise. My dear friends, listen to me. There is no path to unity where men and women choose to walk in darkness by their endorsement of lawlessness. And yet, there is a path to division. Not only this, but the path to division extends far beyond the initial point of division. That is to say, it may have been about division in the beginning, but trust me, the enemy has much bigger plans than division. To wit, he desires enmity. And because everyone who follows this path is operating at the higher levels of lawlessness, enmity is how this path will always end. And this is why you will often find your greatest enemies were once your family and your friends. Jeremiah 12:6 is revealing, for even your brothers, the house of your father, even they have betrayed you. Even they have cried aloud after you. Do not believe them, even though they speak smooth words to you. Jeremiah 20:10-11. All my friends watch for my stumbling, saying, he might be lured away, so that we prevail against him and take our revenge on him. But Yahuwah is with me like a mighty awesome one. Therefore, my persecutors shall stumble and not prevail. They shall be greatly ashamed. Micah 7:5-6. Trust no friend, rely on no companion. Guard the doors of your mouth, for the enemies of a man are the men of his own house. Now, that's just a snippet of the division within our nation that the enemy has caused. And yet, that is not the only division we have witnessed in this nation in these last days. For, as I said aforetime, Yahuwah is also in the business of division. And unlike the division caused by Satan, which may or may not be rectified, when Yahuwah brings division, there is no turning back. For that which Yahuwah has divided can never be unified. And we will discuss this matter next Friday as we continue analyzing the divided nation of Israel. Yahuwah bless you until then. Now, here is the final word. The stage was set for restoration, and we became a divided nation. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, this is one of the greatest tragedies within the history of our nation. That is, the truth that the majority of our people, past and present, have never truly loved Elohim. Despite all he has done for us, and despite this amazing opportunity he has given us to turn back our captivity and to be restored unto him in spirit and in truth, the majority of our people have followed the disastrous example of the former nation and refused to walk in the fear of Elohim. And this is why they will not be guarded in these last days, for they will not be sealed. And when the angels of death are released upon the inhabitants of the earth, they will all be killed. Heretofore, I recommend, don't be surprised that history repeats itself or how the story ends. For every man is judged according to his works, and the judgment that was shall be again. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on today's lesson. And if you have any questions, please submit them using the form at pinnacleofholiness.com. And I will respond to you as soon as I can. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, The Divided Nation of Yisra'el, Part 1. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 502, The Spiritual Disease of Ignorance, Part 2. I will post this podcast on Monday, September 1st, 2025. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. Continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.